Giovanni, how are you? How's it going?
Very good, man. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me over.
Yeah, excited to interview today. By the way, where are you guys located?
We are located in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Awesome. Very cool. How's the weather out there right now?
It's kind of raining. It's a lot of allergies, but usually springs is really, really cool here in Arkansas. It's just cool, and there's a lot of nature. I love Arkansas because it reminds me of Guatemala.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I'm really stoked to get to interview you today. And, I'd love to learn a little bit more about, your journey in entrepreneurship and starting your coffee brand. But before we get into that, let's hear a little bit about your origin story. Like, where did you grow up?
So I'm originally born and raised in Guatemala, and I'm born and raised in a coffee farming family.
Oh,
We've been
wow.
growing coffee since 1950, and we are just a small producer in the northeast mountains of Guatemala, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Absolutely gorgeous. If you ever been to Guatemala, Guatemala is beautiful on itself, but this part of the country is very remote. So virgin land and a lot of that. So I grew up there, but it's full and it's it's a lot. There's a lot of poverty in that place. And I grew up in the coffee industry because that's what my dad did, and that's what my grandfather did, and that's what his dad did. And so we just did what we've always done. And but it's a passion, and we've done it because we love it, and we've done it the exact same way my grandfather has done it since the 1950s.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you grew up in Guatemala, and then did you get into the coffee business right away, or was it something that you stumbled into later in life?
I started so when you grew up in the coffee industry, you don't want to be in the coffee industry.
Yeah.
So one something that is alarming in the coffee industry is that the majority of the coffee that we drink as a whole is being picked or being harvested by kids or by women or older people, older men between the ages of 50, 70 years old.
Wow.
And now the young kids they don't want to be in the coffee industry. So I was one of them. I wanted to flee the coffee industry as far as I could go, and what I wanted to do was to come to America, go to school, learn English, and learn how to program. And I wanted to be a computer programmer so bad. And so that was my way to escape as far as I could escape from the coffee industry. But I was able to achieve that. I was able to come to the United States when I was 18 years old with my parents of savings of $20. A shoebox of belongings, and the clothes on my back, and I didn't know any English, but I had a
Oh my God.
scholarship to come to the
Wow.
United States, and so I found myself in Little Rock, Arkansas, with that in a dream, and an opportunity to go to school, but I'm actually about to be sent back because I don't speak enough English, and so I had to learn English to begin with, and I was able to learn English in 8 months. I was fluent in 8 months, and I was able to get a job, go to school, and get a programming job. And so I thought my life, I had done it. I was like, "That's it! I made it! I've made it! I've been able to get a job. I do programming, and now it's time to start my life. I married a beautiful woman from Arkansas, and we start a family. And my wife picket fence. I start traveling. I make all the money that I could probably imagine to have, but my family and my village is stuck in poverty, and there's no one doing anything to change it, or no one to even think remotely of something different to do. And that was a problem.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you graduated school, got a great job. How did this shift back into coffee occur? And when did it occur?
So It occurred around the 2000s. So I went back to Guatemala every single year because I love the farm and I love the village. The village, like I told you, back when in 1990 and 2000s, the village was stuck in picture 1800 American. No
Wow.
running water, no electricity, no plumbing, no schools, nothing. It's literally
Wow.
shacks. And so that's what the farm looks like in 2000. And so my I keep going back and forth. And the Lord, I'm a Jesus Christ follower, and I've always faith has been a huge part of our life. And I felt the Lord calling me. I felt the Lord saying one day over the Gulf of Mexico, saying, "Gio, I brought you to America. I show you what capitalization and education can do, and how these two tools can break people out of poverty. And I want you to create a business. I want you to create an enterprise of hope that breaks people out of poverty through capitalization and education. And I want your focus to be that." And I was like, "Okay, so what do I do? Where do I start?" And he said, "Coffee." And I said, "But I was running away from coffee." And he said, "Bring coffee and start sharing it." And so I did. I started with 50 pounds of coffee, and I brought 50 pounds of coffee to America to share with my friends and family. And everybody loved it. Everybody was like, "Holy smokes." Because there's a problem in America. America just has drank for so many years, has drank burnt coffee. It
We
has
also
drank,
get some of the worst quality coffee too in the world, right?
right,
Like our ratings for coffee is
it's the
moldier,
lowest.
and a lot of other countries won't even accept the
Right.
coffee that comes to America, right?
Right. Only that you're the one that bring the high, like the bulk of coffee, right? And so whatever you can get is because it's all about volume and it's all about producing this tardy black cup of coffee that you can sell at a mass. And so that's what people have grown up with. And so when I realized people were like, actually, I can actually drink it black and I can actually drink it without any sugar and cream. I was like, yeah, because you realize coffee is one of the most complex food elements in the entire food chain, and it's flavorful and it actually is really good for you. But the problem is we ruin it with cream and sugar. Why? Because it started because who wants to drink a bitter cup of coffee or bringing hot water? And so I was like, holy smokes, maybe I got something here. And so the idea is very simple. Leivas exist so that we can help eradicate poverty in the coffee industry one cup at a time while producing a drink that you can enjoy for its health benefits and you can enjoy for its beautiful nuttiness, creaminess that it already has. And so that's how it started, man. And we've been able to just so remember I'm still programming because I love programming. I'm still programming and I'm thinking I can do this. So I started doing this out of my garage with a little grinder, a little spice grinder in bags, and I would grind it for people, and I would deal it out of my
Yeah.
garage in the night. And everybody kept coming and it's like, "Gio, you got any more?" And I was like, "Oh man, I ran out. I gotta bring more," kind of deal. So I did that consistently for about 3 to 4 years, and I would go to work at 8 a.m. on my programming job, get home around 5 or 6. My kids were young. I had they were 18 to 20 months old, and I would be a dad. And at 9 p.m., I would work from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. every single day,
Oh wow.
packaging coffee, sending emails, trying to get to that. And
Yeah.
I did that for about 3 years to be able to start the coffee
Wow.
business. Hmm.
That's amazing. And how long ago was that?
That was in 2000. So I incorporated the business in 2008. I actually have the LLC formed in 2008. And then I did that all the way until about 2012. So I did that for 3 to 4 years, and that's the rhythm I had. I almost died twice
Wow.
because my body was shut down because I literally was sleeping 4 or 5 hours a day. because I
Yeah.
had my programming job my wife would tell me, "Hi, honey, I really love what you're doing. I think the idea is fabulous, but I really like our lifestyle, and I really want a husband, and I really like the money you make." So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna continue doing this until the Lord says otherwise. And I did. I did. I just hammer at it. And during those times, I got a couple of times where my body really just shut down. Like it just shut down. You know how it is, like
Yeah. You can only push yourself
pixelizing.
that far before
Yeah,
you're physically incapable of it. Yeah.
exactly. And that happened. And so I did stop and did all that. And then finally in 2014, I believe, I finally went to my boss and I quit my programming job and I went full time when I picked up a 5-star restaurant. I started using my coffee and then a hotel. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm making a little headway here. And then I started an e-commerce site and I started selling on e-commerce. And what's really interesting, Mark, is the fact that our what we do is really unheard in the coffee industry. You don't grow the coffee, you don't export the coffee, you don't import the coffee, you don't roast the coffee, you don't distribute the coffee, and you don't have your own coffee shops. That's the industry tells you you have to break them all apart.
Yeah.
So there's
You're one
layers.
aspect, but you guys are full vertically integrated.
We're fully vertically integrated.
Wow.
So it gives you the ability to do some really, really cool stuff. So, for example, every dollar that you spend with us, it trickles directly to the people that needs the help the most. And then doesn't kind of go up and down and kind of washes itself. You realize that coffee is the second most traded commodity in the world, but coffee is coffee farmers are among the poorest of the earth because the industry is completely ruined when it comes to that. So
Wow.
my business model is to try to change that in a small scale.
Yeah.
It's a small scale.
That's
So
awesome.
mhm.
So I'm curious too, your family that's like, how has this transformed their lives since you guys started? Because obviously you started in 2008, we're in 2025 now. So you guys you've been at it for what, 17, 18 years. How
Yes.
has that transformed their lives with now having, you building this business and, treating the commodity that they've farmed in a different way?
So first of all, it has changed generations. For the first time, we have two generations of students, kids at the farm. They have actually graduated from high school. There's actually access to school. There's never been access to school in that part of the world. So now we are actually free schooling for kids. There's a
Wow.
nonprofit that we help, that we support. They have jobs. We're needing a hospital. Not the thing about it, Mark, is from the beginning, this was never about my family. This was literally about, just like a software, you got to create a prototype. Just as a software, you got to have a concept that you can prove. In my village, proving that this can be done in a small village with as X amount of people was just my proof of concept that it can be done and globally across the industry. And so we have electricity, we have we have roads now. We've grown, the village has grown, and now there's over 130 kids that get education through sponsorships and our help because the village has completely changed. And so the village, it was just an idea that turned into a concept that now is a proof of concept that now we can do. And my idea is to do this in every coffee region of the world. There's families is just like mine, villages just like mine. They are waiting to directly trace. Because think about it, is poor people don't need anyone's pity. Poor people need an opportunity. And the reason why they're fleeing their countries is because there's not opportunity for a dignity of a job. So if we invest into microeconomies, we get to do that. And we get to keep them home. We get to keep families together. And we get to do this together while we're still producing, while we're still enjoying a beautiful product that can only be grown in specific parts of the world. So this all makes sense of how we as a consumer have the opportunity to vote with our own dollars for this chain to continue to make, to continue to stay and grow and expand from there.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so cool. And just curious too, are your parents still around? And
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, my
that's
mom and
awesome.
dad are here right now in Little Rock because my oldest is graduating from high school.
Oh,
So
congratulations. That's
yeah,
exciting.
so we just finished building a 5,000 square feet processing building in Little Rock, where we are going to be. Our goal is to be involved in producing 10 million cups of coffee a year. And if we produce and we are in charge and we have a direct impact on 10 million cups of coffee, we know that we can create generational impact and we can break people from 4 generations out of poverty. And so that's just a small. The industry is so big, just ginormous what the coffee industry looks like. My goal is to leave this world where I have left my fingerprint on the circle of influence that I have. And I happen to have coffee as a circle of influence. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure the generations to come are set so that they can have access to a better future because we did something about
Wow. That's so powerful. It's so awesome to hear that. So
it. Yeah.
exciting.
Thank you.
So cool. So
Thank
what
you.
are, obviously, I can already hear some of the strides you've taken, like starting off with the proof of concept for a few years, transitioning to full time. Tell me a little bit more about, some of the growth you guys have had and what it was like to actually build your own coffee, because you guys have your own coffee shop, right?
So we
Yeah.
have our own coffee shops. We partner up with other coffee shops, but we started our own coffee shop. So the coffee shop really came through COVID. So what I thought was, remember my kids were very young, and so I knew that I first was called to be a dad. So I was gonna be a husband, I was gonna be a dad, and then I was gonna be a businessman, because I couldn't give myself to someone else if I didn't take care of my own family. And so I really didn't want to start a coffee shop because I knew it was gonna absorb me. And so I started a wholesale business. So I started specifically focusing on businesses and all that. I started focusing on bulk coffee, and I started meaning, churches, meaning restaurants, meaning
For sure.
not a consumer, right? Then
Yeah. Any
immediately
any
I
other
learned,
place that's buying a lot, buying wholesale. Yeah.
right? Anybody that buys
Totally.
wholesale, and then I did a little bit of retail, meaning I wish if I was to go back today, because 18 years into it, you go, man, if I had a chance to go back, there'd probably be a few things that I would do different. If I was to go back today, I would do more farmers market, because I think farmers market is an easy, super easy way to get into it, but the brand recognition is the advantage of taking that you get on that is that you get to a lot of multiple mouths quick. So I would have done more of that. But anyway, so I did retail, e-commerce, because I knew e-commerce from my programming days. And then that's kind of how we went. We started going through that, and COVID hit. And all the wholesale business that I had, I lost it in 36 to
Yeah.
48
All dried
hours
up. Yeah.
because
Wow.
everybody dried up, right?
Yeah.
So then I find myself, well, my hands in a fetus position in a corner, crying, going, okay, well, that was it. We just stopped the business, just like that. And I remember getting on a phone call with then President who's Donald Trump, and hear him saying something that really stuck in my head. He said, "Hey, these things come and go, but businesses that sustain these problems are the ones that last. And I went, this is my time to reinvent Leivas. This is my opportunity. So I reinvented Leivas with a food truck. So because nobody could go inside, I figured, well, nobody can come inside. Maybe I can go outside and serve them coffee. And so I came home one day and I said, guys, I have an idea. It was so the four of us sitting at a table. I said, we're gonna start a food truck coffee shop, but I need all of y'all to buy into it. My two sons and my wife. Unless you guys buy into it, we're not doing this. And my two sons at that time, they were like probably 10 and 12, 10, 13, somewhere in there. They're like, Dad, we're in. We're buying. So remodel this food truck, and then the four of us ran it. And my two sons would run drinks outside, and we started the whole and rebuilt Leivas from that end, and we started a coffee shop. And that's how the cup to, because I realized people were not drinking good coffee either because they were drinking milk and hot milk and sugar, because their coffee, they were not having any coffee taste. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna go really heavy on coffee, low in sugars, and see what I can do with that. And that hit, man. People were like, huh, finally, I can actually drink coffee. And that's where we reinvented. And so then everything came back, and all the wholesale and the two branches kind of launched from
That's awesome. And
there.
so that I'm assuming that that food truck then became brick and mortar.
So the food truck became a brick and mortar, actually just a few months ago,
Oh,
when we
cool.
built the facility that we have.
Yeah,
We kept that together. We ran it for a little bit, and then we transitioned it into one. So now we have a shop, we have a processing facility, and we have an event center where we teach people all about coffee, and we immerse people in the beauty of coffee.
wow, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, out of all the channels now, like ecom, brick and mortar, wholesale, like what's the strongest channel for you guys overall when it comes to sales and growth?
Yeah, the strongest out of all still continues to be wholesale.
Wholesale, yeah.
Wholesale continues to be. There's a lot of room on the e-commerce. The reason mainly though, because the wholesale is the strongest, because that's the one I'm really on the phone trying to shake hands, trying to talk to people. I think the e-commerce, we really need to do a better job of getting on the internet, getting on social media, getting on videos, hearing me, do more of this, talk to people. Here, people just really need to spend more time with my heart and with my heart wide open, and just tell people, listen, I'm doing this because I love Coffee One, but I really love the power that it has. And I love how we can lock arms together and we can perhaps change somebody's life together. And that's just so cool. Because that's what I love business today. I wish I would have gone back and done business, but that's what I love business. Business is about you unselfishly serving another human being because you see a problem and you have a solution that is going to bless another human. And that to me, that is the coolest, most unselfish thing that you can do, is to purposely be out there helping. Now that's from the purest form of a business, right? But then on top
Hmm.
of that, you have economics. The economics, you got to take care of economics, because if you don't take care of economics, nothing works. So, so that's where I'm at today. As a founder, I'm seeing that I need to turn into a CEO, and a founder mindset and a CEO mindset are two completely different mindsets. They are just different. Are they right? Are they better? Are they good? They're just different. And but my babies today, they're teenagers. They need me in a completely different way. My baby today needs me in a completely different way. And the ability for you to realize that your business is like a baby, that you need to be nurturing it, and will need you to do certain things that you may like or may not like at a certain time. That's just part of being a businessman. And that is the part that no school would teach you. And you just gotta be in the groove and be in it, and you'll figure it out. Every one of us has the ability to be a businessman. We just got to choose to first put others and then put math to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that. That's awesome. So what would you say are some of your plans for the future? Where do you want to take this thing over the next 5, 10 years?
So first of all, the goal is to get to 10 million cups of coffee. So
Yeah.
being the influence on getting 10 million cups of coffee, that means about a million cups of coffee a year, a million pounds of coffee that we gotta touch somehow. That's huge. That's a big chunk. How am I gonna achieve that? I think I'm gonna achieve that by getting people to join me on the journey of changing people's lives. Because it's not about coffee. The coffee just happens to be the vehicle by which we're going to achieve that. Because it's the most touched, one of the most touched, foods that I can think of. So we're going to really push our e-commerce. So we're going to do a lot of virtual stuff. So yeah, a lot of clubs. We're going to do a lot of membership style service. We're going to teach people more how to drink coffee because I think that's part of the problem. Is just people just don't know how to drink better coffee. How do you make a better cup of coffee? What water do you use? What ratios do you use? Things like that. I know there's a lot of people out there doing that already, but I think there's an avenue for us to do that, and then just really work through B2B, because I think B2B, me serving another business that is serving another business or another individual, I don't know. I think that I like that, and we're going to be going in really unique coffees. So you're talking about a cup of excellence. We're talking about coffees that are exceptional that we can serve though through a subscription service to our customers. And so my goal is to grow my customer base to 12, my subscription base to grow it to 1,200 members. I need 1,200 members. Why 1,200? Because I think I'm one of those that believe that you just need 1,000 true fans, and I just need 1,000 true fans because I'm not here to change the entire industry. I'm not gonna be a Starbucks. I'm not gonna be a Dunkin' Donuts. I don't intend to do that. Well, I really just want to specifically help someone's life to be better through coffee.
Wow, that's great. And I'm curious too, switching gears a little, have any of the tariffs been impacting the coffee business at all?
Yeah, so Terrace in coffee. My dad has been in the coffee industry. He's 70 years old, so he's grown in the coffee industry. So I've asked him about this, and he says, "Son, I've only seen it 2 or 3 times where it's done what it's done, but I've never seen it the way it's done. The way the coffee price has hit so high, and then on top of that, you add a tariff on it that has never existed on a product before." And he said, "I can't believe you're having to lead the business through 2 tough times." You know, he hasn't specifically said those words, but I can see it in his voice. It is like, yes, this is going to be hard. So tariffs, yes. And unfortunately, like everybody else, I literally just raised prices at the retail stores yesterday or on Friday, I meant. And they're about to go to the wholesalers as well because we're gonna have to do that. But yes, unfortunately, Guatemala gets, which is where we bring the majority of our coffee, gets a 10%, but Nicaragua gets an 18, and I think Brazilian gets another 10%, and
Yeah.
everybody. So
I guess the only place in America that you could really grow coffee, like in the United States, would be Hawaii, right? And that's a
yes,
very,
but
very small market. Very, very small.
well, not only that, they only produce like not even a 1% of the coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's what I hope that if Donald Trump will heard this, I said, bro, I get it, but you have to think there's an exception to this stuff, and there's gotta be things that you cannot physically grow in the country. And cacao, tea, and coffee, as far as I know today, they can't grow in the United States,
Yeah.
and maybe a territory like Puerto Rico, but still not enough coffee to produce, and they will not be able to sustain any of it. So I think there should be a call for that for sure.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. So it's
Well,
great.
Giovanni, thank you so much for coming on today. This was like awesome. I had an awesome time getting to learn more about you and the business, and
Of
it's
course,
it's
man.
amazing to be able to see what you've been able to do. Come to America. You are living the American dream right now.
I am, man. It's a privilege. I think America is one of the greatest countries ever to be ever created, if you think about it. But it's because you get a chance to do what you want to do if you work hard, if you stay at it, and you have a purpose in life. And that for me is it's just easier to do, but it's still hard because it is hard. But at the same time, man, it's I just want to live a purposeful life that is beneficial to many other people. And at the end of the day, that's why I want to have a business. And at the end of the day, that's why I want to go to bed fighting for. So,
That's awesome. And where can people find you and get in touch with you? Is there any links that I could add in the show notes?
yeah. So, our website, leivascoffee.com, is definitely one of them. That's where you can purchase directly from us. You can also find us on Amazon.com, Walmart.com. So, you just look for Leiva's Coffee and we're there.
Awesome.
So you can definitely find us on those three places. And of course, my Instagram is Geovanni Leiva and leivascoffee.com. That's where I'll be posting a lot of stuff. And hopefully in the near future, I'll have a YouTube channel and I'll be able to continue share my vision and my passion for this beautiful commodity we get to call coffee.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And last question for you. Out of all the coffees you sell right now, what is your favorite one?
Okay, so glad you asked that because my favorite one is the medium roast. And the medium roast is in honor of my grandmother, Abuela Reina. And my abuela, her name was Reina, which means queen. And she's the reason for our crown. Because I believe that all of us are standing on the shoulders of giants. And we need to remember the people that came before us so that we can never forget it and forget them in the present and then hopefully pass it on to the future. And so the reason for the crown is that the reason for our medium rose, which is our most popular one, is her name, Abuela Reina. So it's our medium rose and it's in honor of the wonderful, amazing angel that I got to call my abuela.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You sold me on it. I need to try it now.
You gotta try, man. It's
Yeah.
so delicious by itself. Anyways, the coffee is delicious.
Awesome.
So,
Well, thanks, Giovanni. This was great.
thank
And
you,
I
Mark.
really appreciate you. And thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for reaching out, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Best of luck
All
to
right.
you, man.
Thanks.